Is it our goal in a remote meeting to get everyone in our audience to interact with us? The short answer to that question is yes. Now, I realise there's a big difference between an audience of 300 people versus an audience of 3 in the remote environment. So the way in which we might seek that interaction will be different, but our goal is most definitely to get it. Why? Well, because otherwise, if our audience don't interact with us, then send me the recording, send me the podcast, send me the deck, the document, the spreadsheet, and I'll decide whether or not I take a look at it, I listen to it, I read it. So our challenge as a leader is, well, okay, if the answer to the question is, should I try and get the audience to interact? And that answer is yes. Then it becomes, well, how? Because the way in which we might get an audience of 300 to interact with us is very different, of course, to how we might do that when we are just working in smaller groups. So our challenge is in a number of different parts. Part 1. As a leader, step back. Reflect on your remote meetings. Where is it working well? But where do you also have the ever-present Bob, who is a lady or gentleman that never says anything, dials in, but never contributes? Is it because they're confused, they're overwhelmed, they're bored, they're distracted, they're shy? I don't know. Let's find out. Secondly, let's make it a rhythm to more regularly talk about how effective our communication is with our colleagues, both across our horizontal teams as well as up and down our vertical ones. All we do all day is communicate in one form or another. How's it working for us? How can we improve it? How can we make it more useful for everybody? Thirdly, yes, of course, let's leverage the beauty of technology. We can get people using reactions buttons and chat in a larger audience, as opposed to necessarily going around the room, which isn't as easy to do with that number and is much higher risk. So most people don't say anything. Or we can plant questions, or we can do breakout rooms, or we can do polls or quizzes or word clouds. There are so many different ways in which we can get a larger audience to interact with us. We also need to do it with a smaller audience by being clear on our objective, by planning our questions in advance, by making time for questions. Lots and lots of different ways, but yes, our goal is to get our audience to interact with us. All of them.